Hey, everyone, and welcome. We have with us Glenn Payne, director of Driven, as well as 23 other films. He's also an actor, writer, cinematography. Is there any role you haven't done in a movie yet?
Uh, no, not really. I think I've done it all, whether I wanted to or not.
And also Casey Dillard, writer and star in the movie. He's also written 13 films and acted in 42 of them.
42, is that right?
That's
That
what I
sounds
am.
impressive.
Yeah.
At least 42. At least.
I believe you. I haven't looked at my IMDb in a while. It just makes me sound more successful than I am, so I'll sign off on it.
Well, I want to go ahead and get two spoiler-free questions out of the way to help maybe a lot of our readers decide if they want to check this movie out. First, is Richard Speight Jr. as much fun to work with behind the camera as he is to watch?
Absolutely not. He is a monster. No, Rich is great.
Yeah.
He's very collaborative, open to direction, very generous scene partner. I could say a lot of nice things about him.
I would say it's kind of hard to think of now, but as nice and as fun as you would imagine is probably pretty accurate, I would say. Or more so. He's a great guy.
Well, and then also, are either of you fans of the show Supernatural?
I am for sure. I've been watching it for a long time. Long time.
So
I
ask, what are some of your favorite episodes?
Well, strangely enough, one of my favorites is Baby, which I had not seen until after we had this whole thing going. For anyone that doesn't know, that episode takes place fully inside their car, their Impala. And I think, Casey, we talked about, you had the script written. I forget exactly what stage we were at. I don't know. Maybe you remember.
I don't think the script was finished by the time you found out about that episode, but I don't think we watched it until afterwards because I think I was afraid of it like influencing some of my writing decisions.
Well, because we were waiting to hear back from Rich, I think, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, he's going to think that I just saw that we saw this episode, but we hadn't seen it at that point. So
yeah,
that's one of my favorites, and it's easy to remember because it's so different, than a lot. What is happening?
The bird landed on top of my laptop there.
I thought the bird was going to give us his favorite episodes.
Yeah, he's a little young for it. He hasn't watched it. I've watched some, but I don't think that I watched any of it, other than like some scenes that Glenn had showed me, until after I met Richard and Robert. It was pretty fun though.
There was that monster episode. It was black and white.
Yeah, that one was really good.
I like that one.
That was probably my favorite. That or the one where Death was there and they were in Chicago, and that's most of what I could tell you about it.
Eating pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that actually answers what was going to be my next question of if that episode had of the inspiration for your story. So when you were working on the script from the start, Casey, you had the idea of the entire thing being filmed from the perspective of the car?
Yes, although that one was not my idea originally. Glenn came up with the idea of filming a movie in a car, and I stole the concept and went with my own story. Because I think your original plan was something like a lot darker and more dramatic, and obviously I wanted something a little more comedic.
Yeah, and we both sort of wrote a very small. Was it one page?
No, it was like page? I think it was a 5 to 10 page sample.
Okay. Yes, we both sort of pitched an idea for a movie in general that dealt with being inside one vehicle for the whole thing, or around one vehicle, and hers was better, just barely though, just barely.
a lot better.
Uh,
Well, I do praise the script as being very well crafted.
Well, thank you.
Glenn, I was curious because I heard that you had storyboarded the entire thing in a studio with 4 chairs. Were you alone during that, or did you have like some mannequins or friends to sort of act as bodies to place?
He definitely
um,
doesn't have friends.
no
so-
friends. Mannequins are much more likely. No, I set up some chairs. I may have put some random props in a chair, but no mannequins or anything. Mainly just thinking about different, different ways to tell each piece of the story and try to make it as different as possible. Because you could think that wouldn't be necessary, but when you have 90 minutes worth of content, you start setting up chairs and walking around them like a weird person. I'm doing this a lot. But
I don't think I knew about the chair thing.
yeah, I set them up in the studio. And we
Okay.
just kind of peruse the idea, different ways to do this or that.
Did you end up shooting the movie in script order, or was it out of order for filming of it?
I think we did as much in order as was possible, but since you can only get locations at certain times and things like that, so it was definitely not all in order.
Yeah, definitely out of order. Yeah, which we do try to keep it as much as we can
Mhm.
chronologically, but
I'm sorry. I think most of what was in the what we shot in the studio space, we shot in order.
yeah, because we could kind of control that at least a little bit. But you guys did a great job matching tone, and we actually had to match also too, because we did, like she said, some things in studio where we simulated the driving through what they call poor man's process, but you'd have to connect it to real world scenes where they really were outside, or where sometimes they were actually driving, sometimes the car was sitting still and you could see the city behind them or whatever at the gas station. So you'd have to marry those two and blend them. So we would have to find ways to kind of patch the bridge between the two so that it held up pretty well.
So, like, I remember the one scene where the camera loses the actors is where Casey and Richard go into the gas station. Was that on location there, or was that inside the studio? Was that one of your studio shoots?
When we say studio, we should probably clarify that we just mean a big warehouse that we could drive my car into.
Big empty dark space.
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
see a building or anything, then we were on site. That was a functioning gas station, and
And it was open.
the people are really, really nice, but filming there was a nightmare.
I remember we were filming there, and I went in and we already talked to the owner, obviously, that was all set up, but the people that happened to be working, like the cash register and stuff that night, they didn't necessarily maybe know we were coming. And one of them was a big Supernatural fan, and I was like, hey, we're just getting here, so we'll let you know what's about to happen, And I told them Rich was going to be there, and they were very excited. And then you guys came in. I was like, yeah, he's going to walk in here in a little while and during the scene. So I don't know if they reacted to you guys when you went in, or.
Well, I think that they were like, "Oh yeah, I love him," and then you were like, "Great, would you like to meet him?" And they were just like, "No,
Oh yeah.
no." I
Oh,
don't know
no.
if it was nerves or if they were just like, "No, I'm tired and it's late." But
That's funny.
they passed on that opportunity. Although I think they ended up talking anyway. So
Rich is pretty laid back. He probably got them to make them talk. Bad to guess.
So, did y'all always have Rich in mind for that role, or was it sort of, how did y'all end up recruiting him for it?
I don't think we always had him in mind, but when we were pitching around names early on, his stuck pretty quickly into the process, I think. Yeah. And we, well, Glenn much more so than me, had sort of stayed in contact with him over the years after meeting him with his film, America 101, at a festival some years ago. So he was a little more accessible than some names that were thrown out there. But that being said, he was our top choice
Yeah.
pretty early on.
Because Roger has very specific, you wrote him. He has very specific beats that
Right.
not everyone could hit and pull
Yeah.
off. And Rich definitely had those skills.
Absolutely.
Well, Casey, did you and him do your own stunts in the film?
Yes.
Mostly.
The only thing that we had a double for was when Roger falls off the car roof. That was our friend and co-improviser Carlton Wall.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is he still your friend after that?
Yeah.
Carlton falls off everything.
He
It's
loves
not a
falling
big
off
deal.
things.
He's good at it. He doesn't
Yeah.
break. It's weird, but he doesn't have the luscious locks that Rich does. So I think we put like a black beanie on his head or something. Remember
I
that?
think we just pulled the hood up.
Nah, I think we had to. I think we put.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, for those of you who have the DVD, watch that scene really, really slowly and let us know what Roger is wearing when he falls past the window. It was actually pretty impressive because he had to like fall and also like toss a handful of leaves into the air as he went, and the timing had to all be very specific. So,
because the leaves are what's funny. They're
Mhm.
funnier than the.
There's
than
kind
the
of a shower of leaves after he
Yeah.
falls.
Yeah.
I know at the start of the film, there was a body found that Exposition Radio brought up named Gabriel Payne. And I was just curious if that was a deliberate tribute to Richard and Glenn. As a shout out from the start, or did y'all add that in when he was brought on board?
We added it in after filming, actually.
Yeah.
Our friend Brent Hearn was our voice on the radio, and he and his absolutely enormous beard can be seen in the movie as well. But I don't know. I think we told him to just sort of improvise some lines, and he was really reticent about that for some reason. So we wrote him out something more specific, and I think we came up with Gabriel Payne in the suit that day.
Yeah, and it was definitely his character and my name, which you can either view as clever or really lazy. I don't know, whichever way you want to go with it.
It can be both.
Yeah, it can be both.
Sometimes it takes a lot of cleverness to be lazy.
I was counting it for the drinking game. So I was just curious, Casey, was there any major changes from like what your original on-page script was to screen, and if there were any memorable moments of improvisation while filming?
Not a ton of changes between the original script and what was on screen, and a lot less improv than people think, which is interesting because I love improv. That's one of my jobs, but I don't know. I think it's very hard to blend improv into a movie and do it well. So most of it was scripted. It just flows really naturally because Rich is really good at what he does, and I can follow.
One thing, Casey, because I haven't said this before, is what I'm saying now. I guess that was sort of improvised on the spot, but it was physical, not verbal. And it was Rich's idea. Was when we had one scene where he had the idea of starting in the back seat, and I think it was his idea to lay down.
Mm-hmm.
And then his hand just sort of pops up in the frame, and then you guys talk, and then he hops into the front seat. So just sort of like finding ways to play with the blocking since we're in a car for so long. So I guess you could say that was sort of improvised.
Yeah, some of the blocking was improvised.
Because that was not my note, although I would like to take credit for it. I'll take credit for it. He's not here. I was joking, it was me.
We can edit that part out if you want to take credit for it.
Yeah.
Casey, was it really hard, trying to, at least some of the behind the scenes footage, it looked like it was pretty cramped in that car with the camera set up. Was it pretty hard acting sometimes with all that right beside you?
Not so much. Really the setup was always more awkward than the actual filming, I think. It was one of those weird situations where there was so much stuff that I had to think about that I couldn't really dwell on one specific weird thing. if that makes any sense. It was like I had so many problems that they kind of canceled each other out into white noise. It was like, try not to cough, and remember that you're driving the car, so keep your eyes on the road and check your mirrors occasionally, and
Or really
yeah,
drive, one of the two.
yeah, or really drive sometimes. So that wasn't too tough. Um, yeah, illness and the weather were really the only things that I feel like made things difficult.
She was very sick in the beginning.
I
Oh,
got
no.
better.
So, what was probably y'all's favorite scene in the film, or at least the one to make, or the one that how it turned out?
Well, favorite to film was definitely anything indoors because it was like
Yeah.
15 degrees on average, I think, or something the whole time we filmed. There's a scene where the two of them get pretty intense. I don't know, 3/4 ish of the way through. Stuff just comes to a head, but they both just really nailed it. That was a lot. That was indoors, first of all, and that was a lot of fun to watch. I don't know. It was everybody was very in the moment, crew and cast alike. I think that
Yeah,
was
that was
cool.
pretty cool.
What else, Casey? I'm sure there were.
Is that the one where Rich
Writing,
yelled
I
at you,
like.
Casey? Because you almost got me to cry there a little, I'll admit.
Oh, thanks. Well, I missed the question, but
Was that the one where he yelled at you?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was that one was. I'm not going to say it was fun to film, but it was very satisfying to film. So it would be up there for that reason. Writing wise, I loved the scene where Roger and Emerson go and pick up the stuff from her roommate, and him trying to lie or stick with the story under pressure, which is pressure that is entirely in his head, because I don't know, that one was just really, really funny for me to write. And I thought that they both did a really nice job with it, both Roger and Mary.
That was a lot of fun to film too. That would probably be one of up there.
I believe it. I think that was
It was outdoors, but that wasn't fun. It
yeah.
wasn't.
Well, and
But,
that was like night 2, so I was still pretty sick at that point.
oh yeah.
It was nice knowing that like the scene was in good hands, because they're both very talented. Um, trying to think acting wise.
It's easier to tell which were the hardest scenes to film.
Yeah.
Worst scenes.
I liked anytime Jamie Adams, who was our the lady who played our main entity, was on set. She's I mean, unfortunately you don't really get to see her full range in this. She's very, very talented, but she's also just, I don't know, she seems to bring up the mood when she's around. So that's nice. And again, you just feel really safe when you have a good scene partner. It's like even if for whatever reason your thing isn't clicking, they're going to give you something that's very easy to hit back. So sometimes I have problems acting fearful, I would say, on screen, and she definitely helped with that.
So Glenn, I've always been immensely curious when you have the phone on screen and it shows the Ferry app. I've been curious. Do you have a programmer that just creates a simple graphical picture that is displayed on the phone, or do you green screen it and then add it in post?
Coming from the very indie background, you always make it. You do it in camera, so the first option, and like that would be me. I'm that guy that has to make the thing. So we try to do the simplest method possible. So the Ferry app was really ended up being just a collection of photos, really. Like I made them, and then she just had them on her phone, and you don't actually see any of the animations of the app because they didn't do that. But strangely enough, it all worked out great. Except that, like, I think when we tried to do something like just film it, it kept flipping, right, Casey?
Well, because it was a video of the new customer button flashing.
It was. I'm sure it was a video. Yeah, you're right.
And it was it was in landscape mode, and I could kind of, if I held the phone like in this very specific angle, it would tilt to portrait. But then our cinematographer, Michael, would be like, we need it more towards the camera. And as soon as I moved it, it would flip back. So that.
Flip.
So your hardest co-star to work with was your phone?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the only time I yelled on set that wasn't in the scene. Somebody was like, maybe we should just move. And I was like, just give me a minute. Just, I've got it.
Well, it was so minute. Like, it was just the weird, like just the slightest, a little bit more, and it would go bloop, and turn around. But yeah, but we try to do all that stuff in camera when we can, because it works better for a lot of reasons, for me anyway.
Now the car, did you say, Casey, that's just your car, or was there something?
Yes.
Okay.
It was,
because it's almost another co-star of the film, and I was curious if there was any reason y'all picked that car or that brand or anything.
Good payment plan and good gas mileage.
Well, originally, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it was the largest one that we had available readily to us to have all night for 2 weeks straight. And yeah, that it was mainly practical reasons. I wish I could say that there was any kind of artistic decision making or symbolism behind it, but no, sometimes you just go with what's easiest.
Originally, we were going to use a car, was the idea, and very quickly, even I think we were doing poster photos to raise money.
I think we were doing the mock-up posters.
Yeah, and we immediately realized, as I would get in there to take photos, well, this isn't going to work for this is not enough room, headroom. And your car was literally brand new, right, when we started filming?
It was. Yeah, I'd only had it for a few months at that point, and then we ruined it. So
we killed the battery. We put a couple
multiple times
dents in it,
scratched it.
But now it's worth so much money.
Filled it with flour.
Yeah,
I still find flour in there.
The Smithsonian's gonna want it though, so hang on to it. I will sell it.
Yeah. I'm not going to. Don't worry.
So if I had any complaints about the film, it's really two things. And the first one, and I was just curious, is the title. Was it called Driven from the start, or did y'all come up with that kind of later on? My only real complaint with that title is just there's so many things with it. It actually becomes kind of hard to find the film.
That was the title pretty early on. And it just, I liked that it referred to the movie on a few different levels. It can refer to either of the characters or, just literally the act of being driven around. And in our defense, like some of those Driven movies are very recent. The one with Jason Sudeikis and Lee Pace, I think we might have filmed ours first. They might have beat us to the release, but I think we were on film first.
Yeah.
There was definitely the Stallone movie.
Yeah.
But it was pretty old. It was like in the 80s or whatever, and I've never seen it. And sure, it's great. And is there another one, a bigger one, or was that?
There's like a Christian race car movie.
Really?
Called Driven, yes.
And there's also like a TV show that started this year called Driven.
Oh, so those are all new problems.
Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking, maybe y'all should have called it like We Pride Ourselves on Customer Service or something.
That would definitely stand out. That would.
Yeah. And just the other thing is I kept waiting right at the end for Richard to like reach into his bag and hand a wad of cash to Casey and say, like, here's your tip. That was like the only other thing that slightly bugged me is we didn't get to see him pay her. But
I think that was someone else's complaint too. But
yeah.
I was like, assume that he did. He's a decent guy. He kept to his word.
Yeah. I know he probably did electronically. It's just not as satisfied.
I think she got a decent payoff out of it.
She should have just drove off with all
just
that.
for fun. If like money, time, cast, etc., all that was no object, what would be like a dream project y'all love to direct and write or act in?
Oh, man.
Interesting. I don't know. At the moment, there's a new project we're kind of writing that may be that.
Don't talk about that. That puts
I'm
a lot
not
of
talking
pressure.
about it. I'm just that's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Other than that, there's some crazy stories I've thought of over the years that would be nice to make. But they're sort of still in development anyway. Labyrinth 2. How about that? We'll go with that.
I pay to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah,
keep trying to make that happen.
I would love to try. I would love to be in a Muppet movie, and I would love to make a Muppet movie. But
What about Labyrinth 2? Muppet something.
Say, does that count as a Muppet movie, or you mean?
yeah. I mean, it's Jim Henson Studios. Those are all Muppets involved. I don't know, a gender flipped version of the story of Edwin Booth after his brother assassinated Abraham Lincoln, and I would be Edwin Booth.
Edwina?
No, we would definitely find a different name.
You're like Edwina?
No, I don't.
I think you're missing out on a golden opportunity.
Well, and then finally, of course, I've got to ask if either of you own a turd spoon.
Not anymore. I live in a house with excellent plumbing now.
I may actually own a turd spoon. I don't really want to get into it, but maybe for different purposes than are in the film, which I won't go into, just in case somebody hasn't seen it. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I was not sure about the different purpose.
I'll tell you later.
You know what? I'll call you when we're done with this because I'm very curious now.
I say I can stop recording if you want to go ahead and say it off the record.
Oh man!
It was just one of those things. When it was in the film, I thought, "Is this inspired by somebody's personal life?"
Yes.
Oh, was that also your stand-up comedy days, Casey?
What now?
Was that also your stand-up comedy days?
No, I think that was during the massage therapist days.
Okay, fair enough.
That was when I was taking a break from performing.
So this film is just a little bit autobiographical for you, Casey?
Not as much as you would think. I have done stand-up in the past, and occasionally I do it, but not very often. I'm definitely more interested in improvisation and sketch comedy and scripts, obviously. Yeah, it's odd. I think Emerson and I have a lot of similar interests, but maybe aren't that similar just as far as who we are as people. She's probably a better person than I am, is what I'm saying.
Well, thanks, guys, for taking time out of your day.
Yeah.
Sure, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah.
No problem. It was